Hello everybody, John Felt here. Hope you have your Christmas shopping done. It's getting pretty close here, and we have a winter storm impacting parts of the middle U.S. and the eastern U.S. at the same time, yet another atmospheric river in the west. So I'll be talking about those travel hazards and winter impacts, as well as some severe weather in today's weekly weather briefing. Let's get started. You know, back in my days at school at St. Louis University, one of the first things we did, and this is sort of prehistoric days, I guess, but we used to plot weather maps. And you used to get teletype data and sort of each little circle there for each city. You used to plot the data and then you'd analyze it. Well, for a long time now, the computer's done that, but I think it's a good idea to start my briefings with an analysis of the current weather map. So anyway, right now we have this area of high pressure. This is associated with cold air. We're bringing that cold air into the middle part of the U.S., and at the same time we have a boundary here, and moisture is being pulled north of that boundary, and that's turning into freezing rain or snow. South of the boundary, rain. So that'll be one of the action spots to watch, and that'll be moving up into the northeast U.S. We have this area of low pressure that produced gusty winds, rain and snow over the northeast U.S. this week. And we have another system pushing into the western U.S. that's going to enhance precipitation. Now, over the last week, you know, we've really been busy with atmospheric rivers. I put out a post on that last week, and we did have another one here in Northern California, Oregon border with an enhancement of precipitation. Southeast U.S. ahead of that last system produced a small band of 3 to 5 inches of rain in this area. That heavy rain extended up into the northeast U.S., and we also had pockets of snow in the upper Midwest. Now, speaking of snow, I wanted to show you that we still have quite a bit of snow on the ground over the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, parts of the northeast U.S., higher elevations. The snowpack over North and South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin is over 4 inches, and in some cases 8 inches. As is normal this time of year, we get enhancement of snow on the lee side of the Great Lakes. Now, taking a look at the dew point, you can really see where that boundary is. Now, keep in mind, dew point is a measurement of the low-level moisture. It's not the humidity, which changes a lot during the day. This is more an absolute value. So we see here, I put it here to sort of help identify air masses. We see a cold, although you can't really tell from dew point that it's cold, but it is cold and dry. Down here, relatively mild or warm and wet, or moist air mass here, and between these two is the boundary of where the action will be. Now, last week we had really cold weather over the upper Midwest. Temperatures averaged for the entire week 15 degrees below normal. The northeast U.S. was also quite chilly, with temperatures 3 degrees or so below normal. And the western U.S. was quite mild, temperatures anywhere from 5 to over 10 degrees above normal. Now, one of the things I've noticed this year and last year is the American GFS has really been expanding cold air further south than it has been occurring. That happened again with this past outbreak of cold air. The American GFS brought it way farther south than it did move, and instead it was confined in a very limited area here. Now, if anyone's in this area, you know it was pretty extreme cold, but the model was forecasting it to come much further south. Let's keep that in mind this year. Now, because of the past rain and some snow, we have very high stream flow over parts of the middle U.S., the Missouri and the upper Mississippi. We also have from the southeast heavy rain, and that last storm system very heavy or very high flows over the eastern U.S. And over the northeast U.S., we have a number of spots in flood at this current time. Okay, so let's dig into the forecast a bit. First of all, the jet stream. Well, we've had a train of weather systems pushing through. Here's the system that produced the southeast U.S. and the northeast U.S. rain over the last week. Here's a system that's going to produce the action this week. And here's a system that's going to impact the western U.S. as well. Now, the Arctic oscillation is modestly negative. You can see some variability here. And what this is saying is we're going to have some modest changes in the jet stream, occasionally dipping further south than normal, then bulging up to the north, and then perhaps coming to the south. But it's not extreme. It's not way up here or way down here. So this might be saying we're going to have variability, and maybe on the order of 3 to 5 days on temperature fluctuations, but they might not necessarily be all that severe. And you can see that here. Let's just take a point right here, for example. Behind the system that moves through, we see some blue, then we see the ridging or the bulging north, some brown, and then go back to blue. And you can see it better on temperatures here. Look at the changes here that we go through the next, this looks like 16 days, I believe. Yeah, 16 days. Look at that. There's the cold air behind the first system. There's the brown showing it's going to moderate, and then some blue again, cold, as we get towards the end of the year. But the big event this week, two areas to really bring to your attention. The system here early this week, today through early this week, will be the one that produces the most widespread impacts over the central, southern, southeast, mid-Atlantic, and northeast U.S. And then we're going to have an onshore flow atmospheric river event heading into parts of the western U.S. So when we look at precipitation, what we have here is we have some significant precipitation over the immediate western coast, higher elevations. We have a band of snow through here. We have a heavy rain in this region and a more widespread moderate rain over the eastern quarter of the U.S. So the best chance of snow right here over 4 inches, and in some cases nearing 8 inches, right through eastern Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, parts of the eastern Corn Belt. And just south of there, where temperatures aloft are a little bit milder, a little bit above freezing, we get freezing rain, and you can see spotty freezing rain in this area. Now the extended here, this is the period where we get a bit of a ridging. Remember when that Arctic oscillation gets a little bit, lifts a little bit up? And then I'm not sure about this. I think it's going to be a little bit colder up in this region. We'll see in the 8 to 14. But behind this system, it does look like a large part of the central and eastern U.S. will be dry, but it does look in 6 to 10 day that we're going to have another atmospheric river over northern California during the 6 to 10 day period. Okay, so let's go through real quick through some of the impacts. Two areas I want to focus on, the West Coast and the eastern U.S. First of all, looks like as we get later in the period, the 21st through the 24th, good chance of an atmospheric river setting up over northern California, perhaps into Oregon. More recently, over the next couple days, a winter storm from eastern Kansas right into the Ohio River Valley. Now, same system to the south, enhanced risk of severe storms tomorrow on Monday over the south central U.S. And finally, this is the best bet where we could have an enhancement of precipitation above the runoff values and potential for flash flooding. So it looks like a pretty action-packed week with that system early this week, but once that goes through, it looks like things will quiet down. That's this week's briefing. Have a great week.